So, good evening and good afternoon, Mr. Worth. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you, young man?
Now, is it David Worth or is it Sven Conrad?
Aha, you found my alter ego.
Or one of them.
Yes, you Sven Conrad for adult material and David Worth for everything else.
I've noticed a few directors that do that as well. So,
Yes, sure.
because yeah, you started off as a director of photography. You know.
Oh, yes. I started out as a cinematographer, editor, and then moved into directing eventually.
Great. Because what's I've always wanted to know, director of photography and cinematographer, are they the same or is there a
Same,
different?
exactly
Exactly
the
the
same.
same.
Exactly the same.
Now,
One is a more European word, maybe, for
ah,
cinematography.
that explains it.
Director of photography sounds too Hollywood for me.
It does sound very posh. Because yeah, let's have a look. So, what is it a cinematographer does?
Well, a cinematographer does any number of things, from just being hired to take pictures to actually scouting locations,
Ah,
doing storyboards, shooting, and sometimes even editing the production.
okay. Right.
Depends on on what you want to do, and it depends on how hungry you are. I wanted to do everything, so I wanted to always be a director. So even as a cinematographer, I was already an editor, and I brought that to the table and said, "Okay, I'll cut it for you too." And they would say, "All right." When I became a director, I said, "Okay, I'll be a cinematographer for the project as well as I'll throw in the cinematography for free while I'm directing," and they all like that.
I was going to say, do you get twice the pay? I guess, but or you would just negotiate that you get the
No,
same.
I do. I get. I do it for one low price because I love the process, and I thought it actually saves me time to do it that way because I don't have to explain everything two or three times to several teams of people. I can just. I always prepare the lighting before I shoot anyway. I build it into the sets and the locations, and then I on the day I work with the actors and do the film, capture the film.
Okay. So, like you said, you've done a lot of different genres from sort of westerns and action, horror, adult. How does the cinematography change just depending on the genre?
Well, no, I mean, basically, you may do something a little different for a romance than you would for an action movie. An action movie usually requires three or four, five cameras,
Ah,
but for just a conversation between people for a TV series, they usually just use one or two cameras. Um, but the process is pretty much the same no matter what genre you're working with. You need to be prepared. You need to have the proper lenses and lighting and people willing to show up and do the work.
lovely. So let's have a look. Uh, so you've done some Canon films.
Oh yes,
Yeah, so I've spoken to Sam Furstenberg as well. So you've worked for him as well.
I did a film with Sam. Yes, it was eminently forgettable, but we did have fun.
That's the one with Hulk Hogan.
That's right.
Yeah, was it McKinley's Island or something, isn't it?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So
We're familiar with all of my hits and misses.
it's very rare someone gets all hits, though, isn't
Very true.
it? Because yeah, because he did was it American Ninja and stuff for Canon in the 80s. Did you have any problems with the Canon producers when you
No,
were
no,
making
no.
your films?
No, no, no. I had been networking with them for about 10 years before. I saw them at AFM every year and always encouraged them to call me anytime they needed me, and they eventually did. And I went to Cape Town, South Africa, and directed Shark Attack 2. Then I went to Bulgaria and directed Shark Attack 3. and then I was done with Canon, or rather done with New Image.
So let's have a look. So yeah, you've worked with Hulk Hogan, Daniel Bernhardt, Alan Delaby, Cynthia Rothrock, Michael Dudikoff, Van Damme, Bruce Campbell, Donald Pleasance.
Yes, yes.
The list goes on.
Bruce Campbell is such an amazing talent. I love working with Bruce. Very talented young man. Director, writer, star, just a brilliant young man.
Because you've done 2 films with him.
No, that's right. I did one with he was just the actor, and one that he directed as well. Yes, that was a fun time. He's always a barrel of laughs.
I can imagine. He seems to be the way he is on the film as in person. So, because he was disappointed with the was it the Screaming Brain film, wasn't he? He
directed the Screaming Brain.
Yeah.
Well, that was an experiment. I mean, it was something that he'd wanted to do for years, and so he started an Alien Apocalypse, and then they let him do it. So I had a good time with him. We had fun. We had a lot of laughs. Not my favorite movie, but probably not his favorite movie either.
No, because you also did 2 films in 1980 for Clint Eastwood. One was Any Which Way You Can.
Yes, thank you.
And Bronco Billy.
Yes. Oh well, that was a very important time of my life, of course. And the only reason I got to Clint Eastwood, I never even considered, he wasn't on my radar. I never even thought I'd even meet him because I was doing my little small backstreet films in Hollywood, and he was Clint Eastwood. So. The only reason I got to him was because I did a little film called Death Game.
Yes.
That starred Sandra Locke and Seymour Cassell and Colleen Camp. I ended up being the cinematographer and the editor on that film, and Sandra really liked my work. And when she went from that film to Josie Wales, she remembered me and she mentioned me to Clint. And eventually, over a period of several years, I eventually got to him.
Yeah, because he's very well. It's supposed to be now very economic with his shooting. Does like one take, wraps up by 5 p.m. and stuff like that.
75% of the time, Clint prints either the rehearsal or the first take. Done. Moving on. So that one thing he does forces everyone on the set to be on their toes. All the actors want to please him. All the crew wants to please him. They don't want to be on the bad side of the big guy. You don't want to be there. So so as a result, he is very fast and very efficient.
Yeah. Seems to always get his films out on time and on budget, doesn't he? He's never ever. I've never heard of a situation or any of his films that happen like that.
No, I took it to the extreme though on Bronco Billy because I had what I brought to the table on that film was being able to bring Kubrickian lighting to the film.
Right.
When I was editing Death Game, I had come across a print of Clockwork Orange.
Oh.
And when it got into my hands, I was in the editing room and I took all my work off the movie roll and put Mr. Kubrick's work on it and ran Clockwork Orange forward and back. And I was in cowboy heaven. I got to the scene where little Alex kills the cat lady with a sculpture of the giant phallus.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm running it, and I get near the end, I hit the brake suddenly on the movie and said, what the fuck? I ran it back, and I realized that he was shooting the end of the scene with an 18 or 16 millimeter lens on his handheld Aeroflex 2C camera. And he was doing 360 degrees around the room, and I could see all 4 walls, the floor and the ceiling, and there were no movie lights.
Right.
This is not a small student film.
No.
This is not a Roger Corman film. This is a big Warner Brothers production that got was nominated for 4 Academy Awards. And I was flabbergasted. There's no movie lights. So I ran the scene back to where I could see where the lights were, and I froze it. I realized he had brought in lighting sculptures one in the form of a spiral, one like a Christmas tree, others in bunches, that he'd filled with 150-watt bulbs. He sat them around the room, plugged them into the wall sockets, and said, "We're lit. Let's shoot." This was an epiphany of epiphanies for me. This was like sitting in a room with Stanley Kubrick and having him tell me exactly what he did and how he did it and why he was so efficient. It blew my mind. It changed my entire way of thinking about cinematography and directing. I always followed that procedure of building the lighting into the sets and locations, and that's what I brought to Bronco Billy.
Right.
As a result, I started in the big circus tent on Bronco Billy.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Building all the lighting into that. So we were doing 40 and 50 setups a day on a Warner Brothers Clint Eastwood movies where they usually do 10 or 15 setups a day. So I followed that procedure throughout the film. Every bar, every hotel room, every bank, everything was all, the lighting was all built in and ready to go. So Clint could come in, shoot any way he wanted to, and leave. And I would never ever say, "Well, if you want to look the other way, give me 2 hours to relight." Never.
Nice.
I've been on sets where that happened, and that's just total BS.
Right.
And most importantly, Mr. Kubrick thought it was BS, and he built the lighting into his sets, and I discovered that secret, and I brought that to Bronco Billy. And on Bronco Billy, we didn't come in a couple of days under schedule. We didn't come in a week under schedule. We didn't come in 2 weeks under schedule. We came in 2.5 weeks under schedule on my first major studio, major star film.
Nice.
And that was thanks to Mr. Kubrick.
Yeah, he was good because, Clockwork Orange was banned in the UK for 20 years or something, or not longer. Yeah. So I didn't get to see it until, I think it was a pirate copy in the 90s, so it wouldn't have been very impressive to look at. But yeah,
I was at the premiere screening for Filmmaker in 1971, I believe, on Hollywood Boulevard. I was first in line, and I have ticket number 001 to prove I was first in line, and I bought ticket number 002 to go in and see it.
All right, nice.
I was very anxious to see that film. And I still couldn't study it for years because that was before DVDs and before VHSs. And it was only because I got my hands on a print that I could have studied it and learned by really studying Mr. Kubrick's work up close and personal, what he was doing.
Nice. Did you ever meet him?
No.
Yeah.
And it's one of my major frustrations in life that Mr. Kubrick never made it to the 2000s.
Yeah.
He started as a still photographer, of course, and used SLR, single lens reflex cameras. He never got the digital version, DSLRs, that people were capturing movies on in the early 2000s, that had an ISO of from 100 to hundreds of thousands. What would Mr. Kubrick have done with that? He would have stood it on a chair just like he did the Steadicam.
Yeah.
That's one of my major disappointments of Mr. Kubrick. Went to that big production meeting in the sky long before he got his hands on a digital SL single lens reflex camera.
Yeah, that was, he could do some magic with that, couldn't he? So look, it's got some people here saying hello. Mike from Dave Films. He's a big Western guy on a Clint Eastwood picture there. Big Clint fan. Rob's vintage video. He loves Bloodsport and Kickboxer, so you'll be hearing a lot of that.
Thank you so much.
And Fran Sanchez, you shot at Colin Camp in Hill Prime. Very lucky man.
Very lucky man, especially when she was jumping up and down topless above me on the bed while I was shooting a scene. Very, very lucky man.
Did she co-wrote this film, or was it she part of the script?
Not Death Game. She did.
No, I must have misread that.
Death Game was.
I saw that coincidentally last week or the week before I contacted you. So that's a very strange film, isn't it? So how did you? Yes. The camera is not still at all, really, in that.
Yes, very true. It was handheld. The whole film was handheld
The
by
whole
me
film.
because
Okay.
we had so little time to complete it, 13 days to complete with my portion of it. And so I decided to, instead of putting the camera on a tripod and raising and lowering and leveling, and then looking, and the director saying, "No, let's move it over here." I said, "We'll do it handheld. I'll just keep it on my shoulder." It was the first time I'd used the Panavision Panaflex camera. It's a very ergonomically correct camera.
No.
Very easy to handhold. Was heavy, but I was young, so it was fine.
Okay, yeah. So, Rob's asking, is there a favorite film of yours that you worked on at any of your capacities?
Well, I'd be a fool not to say Bronco Billy and Kickboxer. Bronco Billy, because it was my first studio film with a star like Clint and Sandra and all the gang and Scatman Crothers and all
Oh, yeah.
those guys. And then, of course, Kickboxer, because that was my first major film as a director. And Van Damme, my second film with Van Damme. He was always a charismatic and great young man to work with.
Yeah, nice. Let's have a look. Because do you have anything to do with inner space?
I was second unit director of photography at Inner Space. Yes.
Ah, that's it.
If you read
mention,
far
but
enough
not
down
sure.
if you read, there's a credits going for 5 minutes. I'm somewhere near the end of those credits, but I'm there. Yeah.
Right.
I was the cinematographer on Inner Space with the great second unit director Glenn Randall, who had done Raiders of the Lost Ark and
All right.
worked with Spielberg and Lucas and all that. So that was a great learning experience too.
Was it what scenes did you do?
Inner Space were all the chase scenes
I
with
was gonna say.
people on bikes and cars and all that. Through San Francisco, in Southern California, the bicycle scene from going from someplace to the mall. And then sometimes we were just going to work as a third camera for Andy Laszlo when he was shooting.
Okay. Nice. Was it about the Martin Short's character hanging off the back of the lorry trying to get onto the car?
Yeah, yes, that one. We did a lot of that with a stunt person doubling Martin Short.
Yeah. I know you can see his face in a lot of the shots, but yeah, there's a lot of dangerous stuff there. So like, Francis is back again.
In all seriousness, I was gratified that Disney finally got released as correct as we blew every single. Yes, it was so. It talk about you need to be persistent in this business. I shot that in 1973, I believe, and I never saw it completed until 2022.
Okay.
So that's a bit of a stretch, but I hung in. I used to bug people all the time about it, about getting it done, getting it completed. And the great Bob Murawski, who also edited and got completed Orson Welles' final film, Other Side of the Wind, which was a jigsaw puzzle squared of things to do and make work. And he made it work. I've seen it twice. Brilliant Bob Murawski. And he got involved with Death Game that I knew we were going to get it finally out. But it took him a few years because he's very busy doing other things. But that film was I went to the Los Feliz Theater for the screening on the high def screening of it. It was just beautiful to see it in a widescreen Panavision, color corrected. I had never seen it that way in my life, so that was a thrill.
Nice. Yeah. Follow up. The framing of that film is very well thought out for a low budget.
Thank you. Thank you for the shout out. We were just flying by the seat of our pants because we had 13 days to complete it, and I was hand holding 80% of it. It was a fun film.
There's been a sort of a remake of it called Knock Knock by Eli Roth with Keanu Reeves.
Brilliant. I love Eli. Brilliant. And he was a big champion of getting our film completed. Eli is a brilliant filmmaker. I love his work. I love Knock Knock. I've seen it several times, and I love it more each time I see it. He did a wonderful job on that film.
Oh, there's Jason from the Backtrack Cinema. He says he loves Kickboxer and Bloodsport.
Thank you, thank you.
So yeah, you were director of photography on, what was it?
Bloodsport.
Bloodsport, that's it, yeah. If I can find the right tape. So there he is, Van Damme, all his muscles. Yes. And now it's you, Mark DeSalle, and you are listed directors.
I know that's unfortunate.
Is that a legality?
That was an ego problem with Mr. DeSalle, unfortunately. He hired me as the director. I did all the directing. I supervised the casting. I polished the script. I did the storyboards. I was there for every action and cut. I followed it all the way through. I did my director's cut. And Mr. DeSalle was on as the producer and the writer, and I believe, and he thought he needed another title. So he, the week before they put the titles on the film, they told me, "I'm going to share your directing credit." I said, "Why don't you share catering too?"
Yeah, that's a bit tough. Yeah,
he was in everybody else's areas more than he was in mine. I don't mind being hands-on people. I saw it in Bloodsport. He was hands-on in every department. I didn't mind that. He's welcome to look through my camera anytime. But he didn't do the directing. I did the directing. That was his ego wanted to share that. That's fine. Anyone can go to IMDb and look at Mr. Sal's credits and my credits and realize who the director was. That's not hard to figure out.
Yeah, that's a shame. So, where did you film Bloodsport?
Pardon?
Where did you film Bloodsport?
In Hong Kong.
It was in Hong Kong.
Both films, Hong Kong and Kickboxer. The difference between Bloodsport was in Hong Kong, 45 days of shooting, all in Hong Kong.
Right.
Kickboxer was in Hong Kong and Bangkok.
Right.
And I still was able to bring it in 10 days under schedule.
Oh.
10 days under the Bloodsport schedule. Bloodsport was 45 days, and we did ours in 30 days, I believe. So I was able to be more efficient. We'll say that with Kickboxer.
Okay. Because where the fight in the underground lair or whatever it is at the end, was that a set or was that an actual concrete?
I'm sorry. Ask the question again. The fight where?
At the end of Kickboxer in the temple or
yes
underground. Was that a set or was that actual old stuff?
Oh, that was a set. Yeah, it was the same set that Bloodsport had the Kumite in fact.
Was it?
the same studio, we just dressed it differently.
That's nice. There's Rob. Oh yeah, what was it like shooting the kicking the pillar scene with Tong Po at the beginning of Kickboxer? Because yeah, he's really
That's my favorite scene. That's my favorite scene. Well, the two, I love kicking the pillow, and I love Junk like kicking the tree. I love those two scenes. Yeah, I set that up to be done that way, where you hear the sound first.
Yeah,
he's coming down the hall, dark hallway, and we see him coming. We see the door. We don't see Tong Po. No, we just hear the boom, boom, boom. And what is this? And then we look in, and he's kicking a pillar and knocking the plaster loose in the ceiling. I thought that was a very effective introduction to that character.
Yeah. Because how did you shoot that? Because it really looks like he's kicking a pillar and it's crumbling.
No, it's. I believe he had a protection on the inside of his leg.
Right.
So he like a shoulder pad or like an elbow pad or something.
Okay.
Cut so that it protected. He could hit it, and then we had things that were dropping every time he did hit it to me. And then the sound effect was added later, of course, to make it really sound like he was knocking the house down.
Yes, it is. You could hear, like you said, ages before you even know what is going on. Uh, Jason says, "I love the shots in Bloodsport where Van Damme is doing the splits outside on top of the building. Beautiful shot. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
that's the shot overlooking Hong Kong. Yes,
yeah,
that's a wonderful iconic shot for JCVD. We
yeah.
took all our equipment up in a tram, and we went up to the top of the hill, and we set that up, and waited for sunset and shot it, and it was just beautiful. I always loved that scene. Bloodsport is a very important film for me because it was my first time going to Hong Kong and shooting with an international crew and working with a great producer. Uh, never get old, by the way.
It happens to me on these things.
Charles Wang.
Ah, yeah.
Charles Wang, who ran Salon Films for Panavision. I had met Charles several couple of years before Bloodsport because my wife, I married a Chinese lady. We got married in the Marina del Rey here in LA. Then we went to Singapore to have a ceremony with her family. On the way, we stopped in Hong Kong, and I got an introduction to Charles Wang. He sent us all over Hong Kong in his Rolls Royce, took us out to dinner. And this was 2 years before we did Bloodsport, and we all toasted. And I said, "Well, I hope we can meet together and meet again and work together." And 2 years later, it happened.
Nice. Let me just check something. So, yeah. So yeah, you were directing a film last year, Borrowed Time 3 with Alan.
Yes,
Delaby,
I love Alan. What a wonderful talent he is. Wonderful young filmmaker. He contacted me 10 or 12 years ago. He was, he's a martial artist, so he knew I
Yeah.
did Bloodsport and Kickboxer. And he was shooting little films in the streets of Brussels and Paris with just a handheld digital camera and his friends. And I loved his spirit, and I began to mentor him. And I would tell him how things should be done, tell him how to get more coverage, how to add dimension to the films, etc. I was kind of his mentor for a few years.
Okay.
Then he began doing bigger and bigger films, and he came to LA, came to San Diego, got the Mandalore brothers, Costas Mandalore, etc. involved, got Eric Roberts involved, and got me involved as co-director. So I was very gracious. I'm very thankful to him for doing that, because that little film got more awards, Borrowed Time 3, than any film I've ever worked on, whether it was
Nice.
Clint or John Claude or Cynthia or any of them. This little film just got all kinds of interesting awards. So I was very happy to be a part of it.
Nice. Because, yeah, I'm interviewing Cynthia Rothrock next week. So I was going through her filmography, and of course, you appear a few times in there with Lady Dragon and Lady Dragon 2.
Yeah, that was a great time for me doing working with Cynthia. She was such a professional. She was I've said many times over, all of the pampered actors in LA need to take a lesson from Miss Rothrock. She was trained in Hong Kong. And they treat their people, the people in front of the camera and the stunt people, especially the action people, especially like disposable cups. They just go through them. So she was tough. She was tough. She was beautiful. She was tough, and she did all the moves. She did everything except crash the motorcycle. But she did everything. She was doing her own stunts. And I had such respect for her as an actor and as a martial artist. And that was Lady Dragon was another great film to work on. I thought it was going to kill me because the Indonesians were not into the 20th century when it came to filmmaking. Their idea of production was a week of prep, 2 weeks of shooting, and a week of post. Yeah, it was really rough. So I had to put it in my contract. 6 weeks of prep, 6 weeks of shooting, 12 weeks of post. And that's how I made Lady Dragon. And that's the first film. They'd made 75 movies crappy films. That's the first film they sold internationally because of that.
There we go. Makes sense. Yeah, because I don't know. Is there a Blu-ray release of that yet? I couldn't
Which
find
one?
in the UK. Lady Dragon.
Jesus, it should be.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know.
It's the same with what's the other film? China O'Brien. I don't think that one's got a Blu-ray release either.
Yeah.
That
That's
would
a
look
shame
nice.
if not. Should
Yeah.
be.
It should be, yeah.
Lady Dragon 2, we had a great time. Thought it was going to kill me, but we got it done. And I discovered then, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger.
Yeah. Because just going back into Magic Hour photography. It's missing from movies because the remake of Death on the Nile recently had nice vistas, but they were manipulated in some way because a lot of it was CGI and fake computer generated.
You're right. Now in the digital age, it's easy to cheat. It's much easier to cheat and make anything look any way you want it. It was hard in the old days when you had to actually go out at Magic Hour and shoot. If you really want to see Magic Hour photography, watch Days of Heaven. Okay. All shot at Magic Hour, the entire film. They would rehearse all day, and when the sun went below the horizon, they would begin shooting. Brilliant, beautiful film. Terrence Malick, and I try to remember the name of the cinematographer. Great job, brilliant job.
Right. Yeah, because La La Land tried to do that with the tap dancing on the road just at Magic Hour with LA in the background.
That's good.
It looks so real nice. Everyone thinks it's fake because it looks so good. But they're saying they didn't change it. They just, like you said, rehearsed right up until the time. Get in front of the camera. Let's get the shot.
Very good.
And then people saying
it takes some planning, That's right. Well, everything is fake nowadays, unfortunately. That's a shame.
Yeah, Tony Scott was a fan of the Magic Hour, wasn't he? A lot of stuff with the orange. There you go. Rob, he loves Van Damme, don't we all? Was he easy to work with on the two films?
Basically, yes. Now, on Bloodsport, it took me a while to get used to his style because I'd done two films with Clint. He never raised his voice, ever.
Sure.
In a year I worked with him. I'm on the set with Van Damme. He's screaming, "Where's my fucking coffee? I'm the fucking star." Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, wow. But then I realized what it was. He was working out. He was dieting to keep that cut. He was working very hard to keep that cut. And so it made him high strung like a racehorse. Once I understood that, I didn't let it get to me. And he was a joy to work with.
That's nice. Because he edited, which one was it? Both of those, did he?
He went in post-production because they didn't get the fight scenes right, I don't think. And he went in and he got them right.
Yeah, because you got the 3 kicks.
That's it. That's right.
That he's famous for now. Let's have a look. Oh, got Alucard.
Good evening.
Good evening. Franz says Days of Heaven is a perfect looking film. Criterion put out a great Blu-ray of it. There you go.
Yeah, great. It's all shot at Magic Hour. All shot at Magic Hour. Brilliant film.
Okay, let's check that out. What are your
Nestor Almendros was the cinematographer. Cinematographer of the film. Terrence Malick, I believe, was the director of the film. Brilliant filmmaking.
Because you've written a few books of yourself on the subject.
Yes, I have. I've published a bunch of books on filmmaking. My favorites are Milestones in Cinema, 50 Visionary Films and Filmmakers. I just did a new version updated with photographs during the lockdown of COVID. And I did a new version of also Zen and the Art of Independent Filmmaking updated with photographs. And I did a new version of the classic course in cinematography, Orson Welles' classic course in cinematography, all updated with photographs. They're all available at www.amazon.com.
Yeah, I put the link in the description if you want to check those out.
Good. Thank you, young man.
Yeah, so, because, yeah, there's quite a library you've got just with your own work. So, Warrior of the Lost World, that's where you worked with Donald Pleasance.
Oh, yes. That was a great experience. That was fantastic.
Well, so, where was that? That was shot in, was it Italy?
Pardon?
Was it shot in Italy?
Yes. In and around Rome.
Yeah.
In, I think, 24 days, something like that. We had Donald for a week. He was great, very prepared. And he was such a meticulous actor. He insisted that Persis Gambata spit in his face for the scene. I said, no, we can do this in cuts. No, we can fake it. He wanted it real because it motivated him as the actor. So I said, fine, spit in his face, Persis. It was brilliant. He's a brilliant young man to work with.
Yeah. Yeah. He was prolific as well. He was making 3 or 4 films a year for many a year.
Oh, yeah. What was the film he did with Roland Polanski on the island and the flood came and he wore a dress? What was that called? I can't remember. It's black and white. It's a great film with Lionel Stander and Donald Pleasance. Just a great, as Polanski directed. I can never remember the title.
Someone in the chat will tell us now.
But he was in The Great Escape. He was in The Halloween series. He's a great actor. Great actor.
Absolutely. Yeah, so you've also worked with Michael Dudikoff on Chain of Command?
Yes.
Where was that filmed?
Well, that was filmed in Israel.
Right.
Now, I've had 3 absolutely outstanding crews that I could all put on the A level in my life as a cinematographer director. Clint Eastwood's Malpaso crew being the first, Hong Kong Bloodsport crew being the second, Chain of Command Israeli crew being the third. Brilliant. You can go there, any of those places, and make an international film anytime because the crews are that good.
Yeah, that was a Canon film as well. So yeah, Israel would make sense. Cul-de-sac. Is that the name of the film?
That's it. Thank you. Thank you.
I need someone to help us out.
Thank you. Yeah. Don't get old. When you get old, you forget things. Cul-de-sac was a great film. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lucar.
Sorry. Oh, yeah. Robert Ginty, of course, you worked with him on the apocalyptic film that was popular at the time, weren't they? In Italy, anyway, making those low-budget apocalyptic films.
Yeah, he was also an outstanding man to work with. Yeah, he died way too young. He died in his 40s or 50s, I think.
Let's have a look. Yeah, because I think that was riffed on Mystery Science Theater 3000 or 3000.
Oh, MST3. Yeah, they ripped me a new asshole in that one.
I was to say, is that an honor or is it not?
No, it was an honor. I loved it. I laughed all the way I just laughed all the way because they did a great job of picking out the things I should have been more attentive to. And I thought they did a great job. I couldn't agree more.
Because you wrote and directed that film.
Pardon?
You wrote and directed that film?
Yes.
Yeah.
Both pages.
I don't know. That bike was pretty talkative.
No, it was a 45-page treatment. But it was that film was a very special film for me. Warrior of the Lost World. I had done 2 Clint Eastwood films, of course, as a cinematographer, and for 2 years the phone didn't ring. I thought people would be wanting to hire me as a cinematographer on 2 Sylvester Stallone films, or 2 Burt Reynolds films, or 2 Arnold Schwarzenegger films. Didn't happen.
Oh.
So I wrote a treatment, which was War of the Lost World. I began floating around trying to interest people in that treatment. I got to Sandy Howard, who was the producer of A Man Called Horse, that series with Richard Harris.
Yeah.
And I gave him give him the pitch, and there's a little pause. He says, "Why don't you call my producer friend Ed Sarlouis? I think he might be receptive to this." Thank you. So I called Ed Sarlouis. I told him that this producer had asked me to call him. Ed Sarlouis came on the phone and gave him the pitch. And there's a pause. He says, "How would you like to go to room and direct that film?" I says, "When do you want me to go?" He said, "Can you come into my office tomorrow?" This was on a Wednesday. I went into the office on Thursday. I signed the writer-director contract. I got a check. I went put it in the bank on Friday. I was packing, and on Saturday I was on a plane into Rome.
Nice.
Never, ever happened any faster than that. And when I got off and when I arrived at my hotel, the Residence Ripetta on Via Ripetta off of Patino Popolo, the streets were full, jammed with people singing Roma, Roma, Roma because Rome had just won the World Cup.
Yeah, that's.
I thought, well, this is a special time. And that was such a special film for me. It was very pivotal in my life.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's got an awesome poster anyway. So, had you seen Mad Max or anything
Oh
before that?
yes, of course. No, the reason that film happened as quickly as it did was Mr. Sarlouis did have a poster that he had been selling at film markets. He'd been selling people this film. He didn't have a film, he had a poster. And so my giving him my pitch, it was High Plains Drifter on a motorcycle. My pitch was a guy rides out of the heat waves on a highway on a high-speed motorcycle. He comes into town, rights all the wrongs, kills all the bad guys, kisses the girl, rides back out of town.
Nice.
And he said, "Well, let's go to Rome and direct it." So I said, "All right," and I did it. Yeah, again, it's so much of your career. It's all about being at the right place at the right time
Right. Yeah.
with the right run of bullshit.
So yeah, so all these films, you've been all over the world with them. Do you actually get any time to enjoy where you're working? Not
Do
enjoy
I
the
get any
countries
time to what?
enjoy the countries you're working in.
Oh, yes, I do. I do. When I was doing Bloodsport and Kickboxer and Lady Dragon 1 and 2, we would always go to my wife Mimi's home in Singapore.
Right.
And for R&R because boy, working in Indonesia, you see some things you don't want to see. Don't ever look at a standing body of water in Indonesia because something will have been festering there for about 30 years.
Right.
So anyway, after seeing all that horrendous stuff, you go to Singapore. It's pristine. It's beautiful. There's not a gum wrapper anywhere.
Right.
It's just beautiful. It's safe. It's beautiful. The food is fantastic. We'd always go there for R&R. But I've been going on location forever, and I love going on locations to a new place, even in Los Angeles. If I do a film somewhere in America, I go to a location I've never seen before.
Of course.
Or another part of the world I've never seen before. Hong Kong, Bangkok, Macau, Indonesia, Israel, South America, South Africa, Bulgaria, Romania. Have directors Finder and Light Meter will travel.
Yeah. I'm missing many places from that list.
That was my motto for many years.
So we got Chasing the Old Millennials. Bloodsport is one of his favorite martial arts movie. He loved the last fight scene.
Great. Yeah. Everyone worked very hard on that. All the Kumite fights, we did all those Kumite fights in 1 week.
Right.
But we had, again, the lighting was all built into the set. I had 3 Panavision cameras shooting every fight wide through the crowd, then in tighter, concentrating on the fighters, then handheld on the mat, then all the highlights of each punch and kick and knockout in slow motion. And we did that day after day after day after day, averaging 75 setups a day. I had a high of 93 setups one day, which I thought I'd never break. But I broke that record on a film called True Vengeance with the great Daniel Bernhardt.
Oh, yes.
Who was a handsome, strapping martial artist.
Yeah.
and is working. Who's done all of uh, the Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, he's in the John Wick films.
He's in all the John Wick films, and he was just a stunt coordinator, I believe, on Creed 2.
Oh, right. Okay.
Brilliant young man. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant young man.
Yeah. Let's have a look. Sasha Fred is here. Were you inspired by the hit film Rocky when you made Bloodsport and Kickboxer?
Who couldn't be inspired by Rocky? Of course. I was inspired by Rocky. That's what started me doing my jogging. I used to jog.
Oh, yeah.
I used to jog every morning for years and years and years and years. Now I have an exercise bike.
Ah. That's yeah, so you can get as far as you want and not have to come all
Yeah,
the way
of
back.
course we were everyone was inspired by Rocky. And Rocky 2 and 3 and 4 and 5.
Yeah. Yeah, because I guess the fifth one would be, out by the time Bloodsport and Kickboxer came around.
And the spin-off, which was Creed.
Of course. Yeah, because Creed 3's next month, I think. Echoes here. Canon rules.
Canon
Yeah.
does rule.
We do like a bit of Canon films.
I did have a great time with Canon films.
Francis, the soundtrack to Warrior of the Lost World always sticks out in his mind. I don't think it was officially released.
I'm sure you can find it on. You can find any fucking thing you want online nowadays.
Yeah.
Anything. If I have a lyric stuck in my head, I just type it and then it comes up online.
Well, it's not the same as having the CD, is it? But...
You can find it. I'm sure you can find it. Yeah. That was done electronically by a composer. I'm trying to remember his name. He did a brilliant job for us.
Speak of a great person, they magically appear. There he is. Alan Ellaby is here. Hello, sir. You are a great director, David. Honored to be working with you. See you soon.
Alan, you are the best. I love Alan so much. Alan is such a talent. Very, 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 very big talent.
And a nice guy.
And a nice guy, you bet.
That's nice. Al's, don't know if you asked it. Oh, that's a good question. Have you seen any of the Kickboxer or Bloodsport sequels? The 4 or 5 of them.
Yes, it's my duty to see them. I don't like them, but I see them. I see most of them. Some of them are unwatchable. Others are very big production. But what they don't have is they were never able to capture that special something we were able to capture with the simplicity of those first films.
Yeah.
Everyone was enthused to do it. It was Jean-Claude right out of the box. It was Tong Po. It was all of those young actors really anxious to give their best. And it was us in Hong Kong. And we were able to capture the spirit and the enthusiasm of that time very, very effectively. I see all the films that come out, those sequels. Many of them are done just for the bucks, which is fine. But I mean, the charisma of those first films, I don't think you can ever duplicate that.
Yeah, because the stories get
the Kickboxer sequels were more watchable than the Bloodsport sequels were really awful. Daniel Bernhardt was in them, but they were done by really people who didn't pay any attention to anything.
Yeah.
I had to save Bloodsport 3. When I was they produced the film, I was directing True Vengeance with Daniel.
Okay.
And they showed me Kickboxer 3. I said, throw it away. It's awful. It was awful. I had to shoot a half hour of traditional material, put it together, and make it work so they could make the sales they'd already taken money for. Awful film. Awful film. Nothing to do with Daniel. Daniel's a great guy, but he was just an actor at that point.
Yeah, there's not much you can do once you. But because Van Damme's character's killed off in the sequel to Kickboxer, which, and then he's got a third brother that you never heard of that turns up to train and yeah.
I have a sequel to the original Kickboxer that I want to do with Van Damme and all the original cast.
Okay.
I want to throw away all those other ones and do my own version of it. And I have all of the cast is agreed to be in it. I just have to get JCVD. We need that one little thing
So,
to agree, and maybe we can get it done. It would be wonderful.
nice. Yeah, we'll look out for that. Because yeah, Alan's just mentioned that you will do the best sequel to the Kickboxer. So
Thank
he's
you,
probably
young man.
privy to that information.
Yeah, the other ones you can just erase it, and this will be the sequel you watch of Kickboxer.
Well, that's all the rage now. So
yeah,
forgetting all the sequels, just concentrating on this proper sequel to the first film. So maybe. Okay, Jason's asking, how many takes does a fight scene usually take? Yes.
well, that all depends on who you are. If you're Jackie Chan, you do every shot in one take.
Right.
And then you get that one right, you move on to the next angle and get out,
Right.
move on to the next angle. I always use 3 cameras, and we do so many moves, you know.
Oh yeah.
But 3 cameras, one on concentrating on one fighter, one concentrating on the other fighter, one getting a master. So we have it covered any which way you can.
Okay. Yeah.
So it just takes you do it bit by bit until you get it done and you keep going. That's how we did all of the scenes, 75 setups a day and Bloodsport to get the Kumite right.
And it worked.
It worked.
Fantastic.
Yeah, you just keep going. Just keep doing it till everyone agrees it's right, then you move on.
Yeah. Because Van Damme was he fight choreographer? Was he on both of them or just the one of them?
Mostly in Kickboxer.
Right.
On Bloodsport, he was mainly just the actor.
Right. Okay. Al's, yeah, he would love a legit Kickboxer sequel from you. So we just.
I've got it right. I've got the treatment. If you have anybody who is interested in the treatment, they can reach me at davidworthfilm@gmail.com. Happy to send it to you. I've got all the actors on board, except JCVD. I need him, and then we can make it.
Yeah.
All in Bangkok.
Ah.
Because I'm going back to the ruins.
Ah.
The Kickboxer ruins in Bangkok.
Okay. Because when you had the sticks with the flaming knives on at the end.
Yeah, wasn't that beautiful? That was a magic hour shot for sure.
Mm. That is nice. Yeah. Were they actually hot or were they just lights?
Lights. I think they were just lights.
Not going for method acting.
Yeah. It's a movie. You're not going to have hot knives swinging around where the actors can get in the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What was Michael Dudikoff, because back on Chain of Command was because he wasn't a martial artist to start with until he did American Ninja, and then he learned the moves.
He was never really a martial artist, but he's a good actor. He's a good, strong young man. And I enjoyed working with him at Chain of Command because he was trying to break his image of being so clean cut. And so he was saying "fuck" 25 times in every take almost.
And smoking and
drinking. And so he was experimenting. And
right.
I like when actors stretch.
Yeah, that certainly helps, doesn't it? Oh, hang on. What we got? Jason the Old Millennium. Bloodsport was Jean-Claude Van Damme's first starring role. How did he get that role?
Well, I don't know because I wasn't there, but I hear that he cornered Menachem Golden and showed him he could do the splits and did some high kicks and all that and impressed him, and that started the ball rolling and eventually got him Bloodsport.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. So must be true.
You know, he had the talent. This is a man who is bursting with talent, charisma, talent. He brought something to martial arts that nobody has ever brought. Yeah. You know what that is? The ladies. Jean-Claude Van Damme's the reason that ladies go to martial arts now, because he was handsome, he had the charming French accent, and in Bloodsport he showed his ass.
I was going to say he showed his ass in most of
He
his
showed
films
his
in the early
he
90s,
showed just
80s,
for a
90s.
brief bit of a second, and I was there shooting it. I said, "Well, there's 100,000 cassettes right there." I was right.
Yeah, because he puts his tighty underpants on
Yes.
in the scene in
Yeah.
Kickboxer,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah,
yeah,
a
Universal Soldier and
smart,
everything.
charismatic, charming young man.
Yeah.
I
So,
wouldn't even call him a young man today because I'm so old.
American Tigers, because
Yes.
that had one of the actors from, was it Rob from Kickboxer?
Well, again, I was looking for work, and I met this producer director who wanted an action film, and we came up with that. We shot it in less than 2 weeks,
Oh, right.
14 days, and it looks like it. But yeah, got Cynthia, got the great Sam Jones,
Yeah.
and got who's the great biker guy too? He was wonderful.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was in it, and we had a great time. Everybody kicked ass and took names.
It did,
And
yeah.
you have to, because you're shooting on 14 days, basically.
Yeah. Because is Cynthia Rothrock playing herself? Because isn't her name in it Cynthia Rothrock?
Yes, yes. She came in to give the boys a drink. This was a ripoff. This was a ripoff of one
The
second.
Dirty Dozen?
Dirty Dozen. Ripoff of the Dirty Dozen, where they take these guys out of prison and train them for a suicide mission.
Yeah.
And I said, you couldn't do Man and a Woman in 14 days? You have to do the Dirty fucking Dozen? Give me a break. Anyway, we did it. We made it work.
Yeah. So yeah, you've done the 2 Shark Attack sequels, haven't you?
Yes.
So
Shark Attack 2 and 3.
now the Meg ripped off your Shark Attack 3, didn't it? The new Jason Statham film, by having a small shark for the first hour, and then the giant shark comes up and makes an appearance in the last 30 minutes.
Yeah, well, they didn't rip me off. They just my such a small film, but yeah, I enjoyed doing that movie. That Shark Attacks. That was a challenge, because I saw the first movie. I said, "Well, there's no shark attacks. It's called Shark Attack. We need to fix that."
Yeah.
And I suddenly realized how to do it because of my working with the great second unit director Glenn Randall on the film I did in Mexico, second unit on inner space. No, sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm trying to think.
I apologize. I can't.
That's fine. I can't remember stuff when I do this live. That's why I have my phone handy.
Anyway, we had a Doberman chase in this film. Remo Williams.
Ah, yes.
Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins.
Yes.
We had a Doberman chase, and I watched how Glenn Randall, in order to make the Doberman chase work, Glenn had a couple of dummy dogs and a biting head that he could work like a puppet to show recognition and all that. And I said, that's what I need for Shark Attack to make it work, because I need pieces to go into the editing room.
Right.
Not just a 2,000-pound mechanical shark doesn't mean anything. So I made a 25, 30-foot shark we could tow by the boat, so see the real size of it with a jet ski.
Yeah.
Then I had biting heads, 2 biting heads that could be operated by stuntmen underwater. I had fins that go left and right. Shot all those pieces, and then had a ton of real shark footage underwater.
Yeah.
That I would bring the real shark in and open them, and then put all the pieces together, and it worked.
It did, yeah.
Thank you, Glenn Randall.
Because I guess there's a lot of what the internet memes and the little clips of the megalodon when it eats like the guy sideways on the jet ski, and when it takes
Yes.
out the whole boat and just appears.
The second Shark Attack 3 was all done with
CGI, is it?
yeah, it was CGIs and computer effects. Real sharks slowed down, and then the guys would drive it in their mouth or whatever.
Yeah. It's still fun. Oh yeah, so Franz has brought it up. Is it true that John Barrowman ad-libbed that line?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yes.
There's two things that film's famous for. This is the other one.
Listen, I'm so happy to work with John. John is one of the best actors on the planet.
Yeah.
Fantastic sense of humor. We had finished for the day, and everybody was putting away the equipment. He said, "Let me do one more take." He said, "I have something I want to say to the actors." I said, "Sure, fine." Back to one. So we could get on the crane, come down, go in, and then he says the infamous line, "I want to take you home," and blah blah blah. And I fell off my Apple box, screaming with laughter. Couldn't stop laughing all the way home. Every time I ran it in the edit, I'd run it in the editing room once a week. It made me scream with laughter. So I said, "I'm putting this in the film, and I'll take it out if anybody tells me to take it out. But I'm not gonna do it otherwise." Nobody ever said anything. I don't think anyone even was listening when they ran the film. Whatever, but it made it through, and John really probably is chagrined about it by now, but he that was a wonderful time, and he was a very funny guy to work with.
Yeah. Where did you film that one? Well, and the second one. Are they in the same place? Is it
All in Bulgaria.
Bulgaria?
This was all in Bulgaria.
Ah,
Sofia, Bulgaria.
nice. Was it warm then, or was it height of summer? And...
I'm trying to remember. Yes, it was warm because we were shooting it in the summer. We found a place that we made a double for Mexico, even with the right signage and the right pictures. Yeah.
Ah, nice. Because as Jason says, have you seen Jean-Claude recreate the dance scene from Kickboxer on Kind of Bright?
I have not seen it. I would like to see that, but
yeah, because he gets up and does it. But yeah, you were there the day he filmed it. Then
I was there the day he did it. Yes, absolutely.
Was that how you envisioned it, or was it in the script?
No, we planned it because you have to have everything planned. You have to have breakaways and doubles and all those things. So yeah, we planned it and went out and shot it. He loved doing his dance and showing off his body, and the women loved it too. Remember, he's the first guy that brought the women to martial arts movies.
Yeah,
because of his charisma and his accent and his good looks.
It's definitely missing all that from new films these days. Let's have a look. Fran says, "What were Golan Globus liked to work with? Golan seemed like he was a hands-off guy on set, but have the final say in editing."
I don't want to seem ungrateful because I had a great time doing Chain of Command. But then they came after me while I was mixing this film in Canada and had me sign a contract to do another film with Chuck Norris called, it'll come to me in a minute.
Yeah.
And I went right back after we finished with Chain of Command. I went right back to Israel and started prepping this film. It had a lot of it was a lot of flying sequences in it. I had a lot of second unit, hundreds of thousands of feet of second unit flying with jets that I was editing to put our people into it. And I prepped it, got it ready to go, worked on the schedule. And it was then Christmas time, and there came a knock on the door. I went to the door, and it was the producer looking ashen. He said, "We're shutting down. There's no money for the film." Now, what I later learned was that Yoram Globus allegedly took the $5 million for the film and put it in his pocket because he told the production company in Los Angeles, Film Finances, that they owed him $5 million. When they didn't pay him, he took the money for my film, put it in his pocket, and shut down my film. So that was not a pleasant experience for me. It took me years to recover from that loss. I never got paid what I was contracted, and it was a sojourn in hell for me.
Yeah.
So that was a tough one.
No, that is a shame.
Okay. How do you shut down a film with your director on location, preparing with his family, preparing a film that Chuck Norris is going to be in for 10 days? Yeah, that was harsh.
Yeah,
very harsh.
That's not right.
Probably still bitter about that one.
Yeah, but your first film as director was Poor Pretty Eddie in 1975.
Pardon me?
Your first film, Poor Pretty Eddie.
That wasn't my first film, but that was that was certainly one of the first.
Okay.
Yeah, Poor Pretty Eddie was Michael Christian and Slip Pickens and Dub Taylor and Ted Cassidy and Shelley Winters.
Yes.
What an amazing fucking cast. Wow.
Yes. Because a lot of old Hollywood.
Pardon me?
A lot of old Hollywood stars from the 50s.
Yeah, we went on location again. We were on location. It's always best to go on location for anything because it's all real. We're on location in Athens, Georgia. Found this little place that worked for us, the Charlie Williams Pinecrest Lodge, and we took it over and shot 90% of the film right there.
Nice. Very nice. So, have you been to the UK? You said you had before earlier.
Yes, I have. I was at the UK when I graduated with my MA for Marine Dance in a couple of 2014 and 2016. It's in a few years.
Yeah.
But I love the UK. Yeah. Great food, great people.
Nice. Oh, there's a rise. When is the Rise of Tong Po movie coming out?
Don't know. Nobody's consulted me about that. That's probably between Tong Po and his cohorts.
Yeah.
I have him though scheduled to do the Kickboxer sequel.
Yes.
Which I would just love to do. So producers out there, I've already got Tong Po and the African American actor and the beautiful young lady and the maestro, the trainer, all committed to the project. All we need is JCVD and we've got a project. So if you're interested, davidworthfilm@gmail.com.
Definitely. Because, Cynthia Rothrock's going through a Kickstarter campaign to make her Black Creek Western.
Good.
Because
she's an amazing talent, amazing lady. And I'd work with her again anytime, any place, anywhere.
So, it seems to be a shame that to get films, non-superhero films or something like that made these days, just like a small budget production of an action or a Western.
Yeah.
There's no producers that want to make them anymore.
Yes. Well, when you get to be a certain age, people don't think you're capable any longer, and that's their thought on the matter.
Yeah. It's a shame, but all right. Okay. That's all my questions. So I'll see if anyone else has got another one, and then if not, well, let you enjoy your afternoon.
This is wonderful. I enjoyed this very much. I enjoyed taking the spontaneous questions from the people viewing too. I think that's great.
Well, when I was watching these when they came out on the tapes, I never dreamed I'd actually meet one of the makers of them. So it's been an honor for me anyway. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I thank people for remembering. I thank the fans for making JCVG and those movies a hit. Because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be sitting here.
Yeah. Oh, one last question. The orangutan, was he any trouble on the making of a?
Oh, he was a joy. He was every time they'd bring the orangutan on set, the trainer would come in and set a little stool down where he was going to go. I'd say, "Oh, there's a sample of Clyde's stool." And then he would come, and he was always wonderful. He loved Clint and Sandra. He was always kissing them and hugging them, grabbing somebody's beer and chugging it down. When we did the scene where they fight all the way through the town, they fight in the restaurant window and out the back door of the kitchen. We set up for everybody coming out of the back door of the kitchen. We were shooting it, and Clyde comes out with spaghetti in his mouth, hanging all the way down to his navel. And we were all screaming with laughter, but it's in the film. Look carefully. He just grabbed a fistful of spaghetti off the stove and stuffed it in his mouth. He was brilliant. He was so much fun to work with.
Okay. I guess that's better than him not being a great actor to work with.
Oh, he was wonderful.
Yeah, he looked like he was having the time of his life and just making the film.
He was having a good old orangutan time.
Right, then I will wrap this up and let you get back to your day. So, yeah, thanks for joining me.
My pleasure, young man. If you ever needed me to answer anything else at any time, just give me a call. I'm happy to jump on with you spontaneously and take questions from anyone.
All right. Okay. Thanks for that. So, yeah. So, good night, everyone, and good day to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thanks everyone for joining.